Everyone, hope all of you are doing great and welcome back to this full stack NFT marketplace project video. So in the last video we had done a basic configuration for sharing the data in this entire application. Okay, so we have set up our create context for sharing data into different component. Okay, so if you haven't watched the first part, I'll link in the I button in the description so you can watch. And in the first part we have also deployed the smart contract, we have got the smart contract address, and we did the configuration. So whatever you can see right up here we have already done in the last video. So make sure you watch that, then you can continue from here. Okay, so in this video we're going to continue where we left in the last video. So make sure you guys should open the project and you are at the same place where I am, and let's get started. So here I'm going to, let's do one thing, open up the terminal and let's bring it up. So here you can see on the right hand side we have our local blockchain where it's running. Make sure it's keep running, then you can easily able to work. Okay, and on the right hand side we have our application running. So let's bring this down and create one more terminal. Okay, separate this, and we need to install a couple of packages. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply clear the terminal and I'm going to install this npm IPFS, because when the user will upload the data or the images or the NFT, we want to upload that data to the IPFS. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what is IPFS, I will make a complete video on each of these packages, because these are the very important things which you have to know. When you will go in the interview, they're going to ask you these kind of things, that what is IPFS, what is peer-to-peer, and how you can utilize this IPFS in your blockchain project. Okay, so I'm going to simply install this one. This will take a little bit time, and here we have finally successfully initialized or install IPFS in our project. Now simply clear the terminal, and we need to install one more thing, which is a, let's remove this one, and we need to install Axios, which allow us to do the API request. Okay, so we're going to do the API request with this Axios. It's a very powerful package, you guys must have heard about it, and that's what we're going to use. So here we have installed that. Let's clear the terminal and simply close this terminal and make sure this two terminals is running, and bring this down. And here we're going to import those packages which we have installed. So first thing, we're going to import the, let's say we have to import the Axios, and that's coming from Axios. Now we have to import that IPFS. So here we're going to import the create, and we're going to import as a IPFS HTTP, and we'll call it client, and that's coming from the IPFS. Okay, nothing new, we're importing that. Now that's the external import, and now we'll come down here and bring some space, and now we're going to do the internal import. So we're going to import the API and the address of the contract. Okay, so let's call this fetch smart contract. Okay, so here we're going to write the function which allow us to fetch the smart contract. Okay, so that's what we have. We'll call it fetch contract, and we're going to provide the signer or provider. We're going to use this new ether package, and we'll call the contract. And inside this we're going to pass the address of the contract and the API of the contract, which I think I don't have right now. Okay, so let's import that quickly. So let's come back to the constant, and here you can see here we have the NFT marketplace address and NFT marketplace API. So we're going to simply copy and insert this, and that's coming from the constant. Okay, and now we have to import the API, so that's what we have here, and that's the exact thing we're going to pass in the contract. So simply copy that and pass here. Okay, we have to pass the API, we have to pass the signer and provider. So that's, this function will allow us to fetch the smart contract. Okay, so that's the, whatever we are doing, we are just setting up the stage so we can utilize this function in our letter code. Okay, so that's the fetch contract function. Now let's come here, and I'm going to create one reusable function, because we need to communicate our smart contract with the front-end application. Okay, so for that, for the wallet, okay, so for that what we're going to do, I'm going to abstract the code which is repetitive. Okay, so if I will not extract this code, we have to write this code over and over again in all the functions like create NFT, buy NFT, transfer NFT. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just abstracting this code and creating a separate function. So in that way we have to write less code. Okay, so just don't be confused, just follow along with me. Okay, so I'll call it, let's say, connecting with smart contract. Okay, this is the comment. I'm going to give this kind of comments throughout the entire course, so you guys will navigate very easily. So that's what we have. We're going to call this one connecting with smart contract, very generic name, and it's going to be an async function because we have to deal with the data and asynchronous behavior. So we'll take this try and catch. So if there is some sort of error while fetching connecting with the contract, so we have to get that error. Okay, so right now I'm going with this try and catch, but we're going when we build the API, on that time we're going to create a global error handling, very complex model. Not complex model, we're going to create a very beautiful system which can handle all the errors of our application. Okay, so in this we're going to simply console log out the error. So we'll say something went wrong while connecting with contract. Okay, that's the message I want to display anytime we have any kind of error. We'll come down, and here we're going to take another variable. We'll call it web3 model, and that's coming from new web3, and this is the function we have to call. So here we have this web3 model. We're going to simply copy, okay, it's a capital, and replace this capital. So here we have the web3 model, and it's all property. Okay, so again, I'm not explaining this web3 package in detail because this package is really huge. Okay, so I'll make a separate video in that I'm going to explain that how you can utilize it in a even more advanced way. Okay, I'm just using a couple of properties which it has to make things work. Okay, so I'm not going to get into that detail. So here we have that, and here we're going to create the connection. So we have await, and we have this web3 model, and we're going to call this connect function. Now we'll come down, we're going to create the, let's say we have to create the provider, and this provider is coming from new, we have to call this ether package which we have, and we'll call it providers dot web3 provider, and in that we go to pass the connection. So that's how we got our provider. Now let's come down here, we have to come and we have to create the signer. So we'll call it provider dot get signer. So whoever will interact with our smart contract became the signer. Okay, so that's what we have here. Now we have to create this contract, and finally we have to fetch the contract. So in that we're going to pass the signer, so that contract will interact with this particular user, and here we have this function, and that we are passing this signer or provider. Okay, so that's what we have, and now we have to return this function, sorry, return this contract. Okay, so now this function is a reusable function, and we can use wherever we want in this entire application. Okay, so that's the abstraction part of the connecting. Okay, so let's close this one, and let me show you what are the properties we'll get once we call this function. Okay, so for that let's close this one as well, and for that what I can do, I can come here and I'm going to create a function, and this function I'm only creating to show you that what properties we'll get when we'll call that contract function. Okay, only for that purpose I'm creating this function to show you. Okay, so we'll call it, let's say, check contract. It's going to be an async function, and here we're going to call the, let's say we're going to call this function. Okay, so we're going to take a variable, we'll call it contract. Here we have the contract, and we're going to call this await, and we're going to call the functions, and I want to console log out all the property which we get from this contract. Okay, so let's call that. So that's what we have here. Now let's come up here, that's what we're going to pass this function here, so we can receive in the index page. So let's come here, go to this index page, and here we're going to call the function. So before we call that, we have to receive the function, and this setup we have already done in the first video. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you watch. This is the second part. Okay, so here we'll call the function, and here we're going to call the use state we already have here. Now here we're going to call that use state, and it's going to be an empty array, and then we're going to call this function check contract, and it's going to be an empty array. Okay, let's save it. Now come back to the browser, and as you can see here, the MetaMask is got open because we are calling the smart contract, and when the smart contract is getting called, our web3, the package we have installed, web3 model, it's automatically try to connect the application with the MetaMask. Okay, that's the world we have. Actually I have in my browser, so that's getting popped up. Okay, so here it's automatically getting open, and now here, just wait, I have to put my credential in this. Make sure you put your, so what is my credential? Okay, let's type that, and I have to simply unlock this. So the moment I unlock, it will, let's see, let's do the inspect element, and let's come here, and here you can able to find a couple of things. Okay, something went wrong while connecting with contract. Okay, because first time when the application got, the MetaMask got open, on that time we were not connected with this application. Okay, so what I will do now, I will simply, I'm going to reload the page. Okay, so let's come back here and reload the page. So the time I will do this, still I have no information about the contract. Why so we don't have that? And let's come here. Okay, my bad, because I have not called that contract in my console. Okay, so let's do that. Simply copy and simply paste here, Okay, so here we have called that, and here you can see we have that information. So here we have the contract, and it's contain all the information about the smart contract. So you can see the address. So this is the address of our smart contract. We have created this approved functions and balance of functions. We have created all the function which you will find right up here in the okay, in this here. So fetch my NFT, market items, listed item, estimated gas, create token. So all the function you will find which we have created in our smart contract, and this becomes only possible because we have installed that web3 model and we have used that connection, okay, properties. Don't need to worry about that web3 model. It's a beautiful package and it's a powerful package. We're going to discuss more in the separate video. Okay, so that's all the data we can easily able to have here, and we can easily able to use in those property and interact with the smart contract. So that's what we have. So let's come here. We don't need this one. It's okay, simply comment this. Actually remove this one. We don't need this. Actually remove this as well. Let's come here, go back to the NFT marketplace context, and from here we're going to remove these functions, and we have to remove it from here as well. So that's, now we have the clean environment, and now we can start working on it. Okay, so we have these two function, fetch contract and connecting with the smart contract, and now we'll come here and we're going to start working on the actual function. Okay, so the first function I want to create is, before we create that, we have to create a couple of use states. So first use state we'll create that is current account. Okay, so whoever will interact with the smart contract or interact with the application, we want to get the address of their wallet. Okay, so that's what we have taken. It's going to be an empty string, and now we're going to create a function which allow us to check whether the user is connected with the application or not. Okay, so we're going to create a function for that. So let's give this message, check if wallet is connected. Okay, so this function will check whether the wallet is connected with the application or not. Okay, so it's going to be a const, and we'll say check if wallet connected. So very generic name, and it's going to be an async function, and in that we're going to take this try and catch because we want to handle the error as well. And here I'm going to console log out that, let's say something like let's say something wrong while connecting to wallet. Okay, now here we're going to write the logic for that. So I'll take this, let's say if window.ethereum, so if window.ethereum is not there, then we want to return this error message. So I'll simply say that install meta mask. Okay, if we don't have that window.ethereum, I will show you that what it is exactly and from where you will get this object. Now let's take that, but if we have that window.ethereum, then we want to get the accounts. So we'll take this account and we'll call this await window.ethereum. We have to request, and here we're going to call this method. Okay, so the method we're going to call for getting the account is eth dash accounts. Okay, eth, not r. Okay, in this way we can get the array of accounts. So okay, this will give the array of account. It could be have more than one account. So for that we have to build a condition. Okay, so let's simply come down, we'll take a if statement. We'll say account length. If there is an account length, then we want to call this set a current account, and we want to take the first account. Okay, else we want to say that console log no account found. Simple JavaScript, nothing fancy. Okay, hope these things are making sense. Okay, now let's talk about this window.ethereum, from where we are getting this. Okay, simply copy that and come here and reload the browser and just wait, and here we're going to paste that. So let's copy this one and come here and paste here. So here you can see I'm getting this object, and you might be thinking from where we are getting this object. So the moment you install this MetaMask, that MetaMask will inject this Ethereum object in your browser. Okay, and with the help of that you can easily able to detach whether they have any kind of web3 wallet or not. Okay, so this object is coming from MetaMask. If I remove MetaMask, I will don't have this object. Okay, if I open this, you will find tons of property. So you will have the chain ID, you will have enable MetaMask is true because we have MetaMask, and all the network, whatever network you will connect it with, whatever network will inject this provider, this Ethereum object, they will become true. Okay, and you will find the address, all these events you will find, so you can utilize this one. Okay, So now let's come back to the code, and here simply we copy this and we have to pass this function here, so we can easily able to call in our main index page. Okay, simply call it here. Now that's the check wallet connect function. Now we have to create another function which allow user to click on the button and connect with the wallet. Okay, so you should always have these two function. One, it will automatically check the account, and the other will have a function which allow user to click and connect. Okay, so let's create the function. So we'll call it connect wallet and function. Okay, we're going to say connect wallet, pretty generic name. It's going to be an async function, and async function, and we have to take this try and catch general convention, and we have to simply display the error message. We'll call it as something error while connecting to wallet, and here we have to do the same check. Okay, so here we have to write the same piece of code. So what we can do, we can come here and check if wallet connected, and here we're going to copy this part. Okay, this entire if statement. Okay, copy this one and come back here and simply paste it. The same if statement we have to do whether they have the MetaMask or any web3 wallet or not. If they have, then we want to get the account, and here we're going to change the method. So this time we are requesting for the account, so we'll call eth, and we'll call it request account. Okay, so here we'll get the array of account, and now we have to set the account, first account. We have to take the first account. So you have seen the difference, like in the other function, when we are checking for the account automatically, on that time we are checking with the help of length. Okay, account.length. You have both the option. You can either go in that way, or you can either directly check this way. Okay, so here we have that function, but here we are writing simply. Okay, you have both this option, and here we have that. Okay, now once we get connected and account is set, we have to reload the window. Okay, so we'll call this location.reload function. This is optional, but it's always great to reload it, so everything will start from fresh. Okay, so that's the connect wallet function, and simply copy, and we have to pass that function here. Close all the functions, and here we're going to pass it. So that's the two important function which every web3 application should have. So let's close this one, and now we're going to start creating the other important function. So this function will allow us to upload the images to the IPFS. Once we upload that, we're going to return that image and we're going to display it. Okay, so this is the reusable function we are creating. So we'll call it, let's say, let's come here. Here we have imported this XCS and we have this IPFS, but we haven't created the client. Okay, and here I'm giving you my personal URL. Okay, so let's come down, and here I'm going to create the client, and here we're going to use this IPFS HTTP client, and here we're going to construct the URL of the IPFS. So we'll say HTTP / and with IPFS.infura.io and /5001/API/v0. And this is my personal URL which I'm giving you, because if you want to get this URL, you have to create an account on Infura, and from there you have to fill out the credit card details. Then they will give you like close to 5 GB data, uploading data. So here I'm using this one, so make sure you use the exact URL, or in the next video when I will make a dedicated video for the Infura, where I will explain that how you can utilize that Infura even in more advanced way. Okay, for a lot of things, for getting the data and connecting with the blockchain. Okay, so in this way I'm just utilizing it whatever I have, but don't need to worry about it. We're going to make a dedicated video on the Web3 model. We're going to make a dedicated video on Ether, Hard Hat, Infura, IPFS. I already have a video on EtherJS, which I will link in the I button on the description, where I have explained every single thing about the EtherJS package, so you guys can understand how you can utilize this. And we don't have any video about the Infura. I'll make a dedicated video on that, and I will talk about that how you can create your own Infura URL for the IPFS. Okay, so just utilize this URL for a time being. So that's what I have here. That's the exact URL you have to type. This is my client, and now we're going to utilize that client. So let's come back here in the function. We're going to create a function. We'll call it upload to NFT IPFS. Sorry, upload to IPFS, and it's going to be an async function, and it will receive a file. So whenever we call this function, we will get the URL from that. Okay, So when someone will use the drop zone and they will drop the image, we'll get the path of that images, and that's what we're going to receive here. Okay, and here we're going to create this try and catch, which is a general convention, and we have to say like error uploading to IPFS. Okay, and here we're going to simply create a variable called add, and here we're going to call the await client. This is the client we are calling, and here we're going to call the method to add, which we have on this client, and in this we're going to take this content, and here we're going to pass the file. Okay, so that's the path, and here we're going to take another one, and now we are constructing the URL. Okay, so it's going to be an template literal http ipfs dot infura.io, and it's say ipfs slash, and here we're going to pass the data. Okay, added dot path. Okay, so this is the address, the main IPFS address, and at the end we are adding the file path. So whatever data will pass inside this end in the path, that would be available in that particular URL. Okay, so that's how we're going to upload the data to the IPFS. Okay, so once the data is uploaded, okay, now we're going to simply return it. Okay, return the URL. So when we'll call this function in our upload NFT, we'll get the URL there. So we don't need to extort the data and export and then receive. We are directly returning this URL, so we can easily able to get that URL in the IPF in the same upload page, and from there we can easily able to display. Okay, so that's the approach I'm taking here. So that's the function for the IPFS. Simply copy this function, and that's the function we have to pass here, so we can receive in other components. So let's do one thing, simply cut this one, and we're going to call this function right up here. Okay, so let's come here, and we're going to take this use state, and we're going to call this function right up here. So connect wallet. So let's call this function, and let's save it. Okay, so we want to call this function every time. Okay, that's why I'm doing it this way. Simply come here, this is the function for upload, close this one, and now we can write the other function. So let's come down, and this time we have to create the function called create NFT function. Okay, so this will allow us to create NFT. By the name you can understand. So we'll take a variable, we'll call it create NFT, and it's gonna be an async function, and it will receive couple of data. So it will receive the form input. Okay, so the reason why I'm getting the entire data, so this form input, is an object. Okay, it will have all the data about the name, descriptions, price. Okay, so it will come in form of that. So here we have the form input, here we'll have the file URL, we'll also send in this create function, and we'll also send this router. Okay, so these are the property this function will receive, and it's going to be an arrow function. We have to follow the same convention, try and catch. We have to say console.log, and in this we're going to display the error message. So let's say error while creating NFT. So that's the function we have, and now we're going to first deconstruct the data from the form input, because form input is an object. Okay, so we're going to deconstruct the data. We'll take that, and we'll say name, we need the descriptions, and we need the price, and that's all coming from form input. Okay, so that's the data we have from the form input. Now we have to check that whether the users who creating this NFT are providing all the data which is required to create NFT. Okay, so we check for that before we proceed. So we'll say if name is not there, description is not there, and price is not there, or file URL is not there, if we are missing any one of these property, then we want to simply return this message. Okay, we have to say console.log, and here we're going to say data missing. Okay, data is missing. So that's the check we are doing. Once the user provide all the data, we want to execute the function further. So let's come down, and we'll take another variable, we'll call it data, and here we're going to take that data and convert that into a JSON. Okay, so we'll call it JSON.stringify, and in that we're going to take this object, and in that we're going to pass the entire data, so name, descriptions, and we'll pass this image as well. So here what I'm doing, here we have the file URL. I'm going to convert that file URL name to the image. Okay, so this is how you can do it. It's a normal JavaScript. Okay, so here we are converting that into a string, a JSON. So once we have the data like this, now we can come down. We're going to take this try and catch again. We're going to take this one and we'll say add. The same convention we have to follow, which we have followed in the upload to IPFS. Okay, so added, it's gonna be await. We have to take the client and we have to take this add, and we want to pass the data. Okay, so here we have the data, and now we'll come down, we'll take the URL, and we need to construct the URL of this entire information. So this URL will have all the information like name, description, price, and the images. Okay, it will have all the data. Whatever data will pass inside this, that would be available. So let's construct the URL. So we'll call it, let's say, IPFS infura.io slash AP IPFS slash, and here we have to pass the data. Okay, so added dot path. So that's the URL we have constructed. Okay, that's sending here, and that's what we are adding up here. So once we have that, now we're going to create this await, and we're going to call this function create cells, and we're going to pass the data, URL, and price. And you might be thinking from where we are getting this create cell function. Actually, we don't have this function right now. We have to create this function because this will be responsible for creating this cell. Okay, and this function will execute internally, not externally. So once you call that function create NFT, this function will run internally. Okay, so in this we go to pass the URL and the price. So that's it for this function. Okay, so looking pretty good. We are getting all the data, checking, and we are converting that and sending to the IPFS. Now simply here we are getting some sort of error. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's simply remove this one and come up here and go up and remove this try, because we already have one try and catch, and this looks pretty fine. Okay, so that's, make sure you do these changes. Okay, so here we have that function. Things are looking so good. Let's have a look one more time. So we have to create this function. Simply copy, close this one, and let's copy this function, and we have to send it. Okay, now simply close this one and come down, and we'll say what is the name of the function we have given, create cell. Okay, simply copy and come up, paste here. So this is the function we're going to create now. Okay, create cell function. So we'll say const create cell. It's going to be an async function, and it will receive data. So it will receive the URL, it will receive the price. So this time I'm calling form input price, and you might be thinking that from where we are getting this form input price, but we have sent like price only. Here you might be thinking we have sent price, but here we are calling form input price. You can call whatever you want, but make sure the order will be same. Okay, so here we have the price. We're going to take this another data is called is resale. Okay, and ID. And the reason why I'm taking this approach, because I don't want to write the same piece of code over and over again. Okay, so this resale will allow us to do a couple of check that which function should I execute and what function the user is calling. Okay, only for that purpose I'm taking this, so I have to write less code. Everything will make sense, just follow along with me. So it's going to be an async function, and you know the drill. I have to take this try and catch so we can get any kind of error. So let's say something like console logout and error while creating cell. Okay, that's the basic structure we are following. Now let's come up here, and here we're going to call this function. So we have created this function connecting with smart contract, and that's the function we're going to utilize now, because this time we're going to actually interact with the smart contract. So simply copy that, and let's scroll all the way down, and we're going to call that function here. So first thing we have to do is we have to take the price. Okay, so we'll take that const and we'll call it price, and we have to convert this price. Okay, so we'll call it ether.utils parse utils, and here I want to convert the price into ether, because you know that whatever transaction you do on the blockchain, or basically on Ethereum blockchain, that's happened in terms of way. Okay, so I want to transform this price into ether. So let's do that. So here I'm going to call the form input price, and here I have to define the currency. So I'm going to convert that into a ether. So that's what I'm going to do. Here we have the price of the NFT, and we'll come down. Now we're going to call this contract function. Okay, so simply await, and what is the name we have given to the function? So simply say await, and here we're going to call the function name connecting with smart contract. Okay, So in that way I can able to have all the property of the smart contract on this contract variable. So let's come down, we're going to take this data. So here we're going to call the listing pricing, because we want to get our commissions. Whenever user will create NFT, resell NFT, we have to get the commission. Okay, so let's get that as well. So here we have this listing price and await, and we have this property on the contract. And if let's come here, open the contract side by side so we can have a look what we are working on. And let's come here, and if I scroll down, if I come up here, and here you can notice here we have two function, update listing price and get listing price. So we have to get the listing price which we want to charge to the NFT creators. Okay, simply copy this function and come back here, and we're going to call this function. Okay, so we'll get the listing price exactly. And once we have the listing price, and here we're going to do the magic, we're going to say const transaction. Okay, transaction. And the reason why I'm doing in this way, because we have to do a check. You will appreciate this. Okay, so transaction, we have to take this. So here what I'm saying is not reselling. So if user is not reselling their existing NFT, they're creating new NFT, then I want to execute different function. But if user try to resell the same NFT which they have created in the past, then we want to execute different function. Okay, resell token, resell NFT function we have to create. Okay, so here we have that, we have this contract, in that we have the function. So let's come here. If the user try to create new NFT, then we want to call this create token. Okay, function. And you can notice one thing, that in this create token function we have to pass two things. One is the URL of the NFT and the price, and that's already we have. Okay, let's come here, in that we're going to pass the URL and we're going to pass the price, and we have to define the value as well. Okay, so here we have to define the listing price, and we have to convert that listing price to string. That's the first function. But if user try to resell, then we want to call this a resell function. Okay, contract. And let's come back here, and we're going to scroll all the way down, and here we have that resell token function. It will take the same property, it will take the token ID and the price. So let's come here, and we're going to call the function, we're going to pass that URL and the price. Okay, URL is actually the token ID. Okay, and here we're going to pass that value, which is a listing, and we have to send. Nothing new, we are following the same pattern. Okay, so this is the reselling function we are checking. In this way we can easily able to save a lot of code. So in this way we can easily able to save a lot of code. We don't need to write the same code over and over again. Okay, and once it's done, we have to execute this function. So we'll solve await transaction dot wait, and here we are using this wait because we have to wait till the transaction got written on the blockchain. Okay, so it's always important that whatever function you call and that function make any change on the blockchain, you have to make sure that you use this wait. Okay, so that's the wait, and that's the function for create sell. Okay, everything's looking fine, no errors we have. Okay, simply close this one, close this one, close this one, close this. I don't know why they got open. Simply close this one. Right now everything's looking fine, but when we do the actual testing with the smart contract, on that time if we find that we have to do any changes, we'll definitely come back here. So one thing you have to keep in mind, that the code you write, it's not always the final code. Okay, you keep optimizing for the performance purpose, for writing less code. Okay, so that's what we're going to do as well, but just follow along with me whatever we have done so far. Okay, so we're going to come down, we're going to create another function. We'll call it fetch NFTs function. So what this function will do, it will fetch all the NFT which is created in the on this application. Okay, in this marketplace. Okay, we want to fetch all the NFTs. So we already have that function, so we're going to do this fetch NFTs, and it's going to be an async function. You know the drill. And this time we don't need to pass anything inside this. It's going to take this cry and catch, and we'll say the error message, error while fetching NFT. Here I'm getting an error. Why? Okay, I made a spelling mistake in the async, so simply change this to async. Okay, now things looking fine. Let's come down, we'll take this variable and we'll call this provider. Okay, so we need to have a provider, then we can easily able to communicate with the smart contract. Okay, so we'll take the provider new ether and provider dot jcp. Okay, JSON RPC provider we call. And once we have that, we're going to pass that, we'll call it contract, and we're going to call this fetch NFT. Okay, so fetch contract function, and in that we're going to pass the provider. Okay, so in this way we can easily able to have the access of the contract. Now we'll call data, and here we'll say wait contract, and we're going to call this data function. So where it is the function, so where we have the function, or so this is the function we have. So it's have fetch market item. Simply copy the function, and that function we have to call here. And let's console log out all the data we'll get here. So I remember that we don't have an NFT, so let's comment this, and let's come down. We're going to take this items, and we're going to, because it will come in terms of promise. Okay, so we have to resolve the promise, and then is be able to get the data. Okay, so await promise dot all, and in that we're going to take this data and we're going to map over it. It's going to be async function, and in that we have to pass the property which we want to get. So we want to get the token ID, we want to get the seller, we want to get the owner, we want to get the price. We are converting this price and we'll call it unformatted price. Okay, so the price will get, it will come in the form of big number. Okay, so we're going to convert that. Okay, so we have the price, and you might be thinking from where we are getting. So if we come back here, and here, let's see, come here, you can see we are passing the data in form of array market item. But if you come back to the market item here, in the here we are defining all the data. So we have the token ID, we have the seller, owner, price, sold. So these are the data we are returning from that array. Okay, and that's all data we are receiving here. We have the data. Now we'll come down, we'll take this const token URI, and we'll call it await contract dot token URI, and in that we're going to pass this token ID. Now let's come down, we take another variable. This time we're going to call data, and we're going to deconstruct that. Okay, so we have to say image, name, description, and it's gonna be, let's say, await. We'll call the axis, and we're going to use this call get function. Okay, we're going to get that. So token URI, we want to pass it, and this will give all the data. Okay, and here we're going to take the price and we're going to convert that. Okay, utils format unit, and in that we want to convert that to unformatted price, and I want to convert that to, let's say, string, and we're going to convert it to ether. Same logic we are following here. So once we have the converted price, now we can come here and we're going to return the entire data. Okay, so you have either two options. You can return all the data right up here one by one and save in a use state and send as a data. Okay, or you can return the entire data and render in the component where you want. So I'm just returning the entire data. Okay, and in that we have to pass this price, we have to pass this token ID, and we have to convert the token ID to number. Okay, because it will come in the form of big number. Now we have to pass the seller, owner, image, name, and the description, and the final is the token URI. So these are the data we are returning from this function. Okay, and come here, simply copy this, and we have to return as a whole. Okay, so we'll say, let's come down and we'll say return items. Okay, so that's what we are returning. So this is the entire function we have for this fetch NFTs. So this will give all the NFTs which is related to this NFT marketplace. Okay, so that's what we have, and here we have to pass the function, and simply close that, and let's write the next function. Okay, so let's come here, we're going to call this function fetch my NFT or listed NFT. So now we have to create the function which fetch all the NFT related to a single user. Okay, and so we'll fetch that NFT, we'll call it, let's say, const fetch my NFTs all listed. Okay, NFTs, it's going to be an async function. Same logic we have to follow, and here we have to define the type. Okay, because we have to fetch two types of NFT. One is the NFT which is created by the user and he owns that NFT, and the other type is the listing, if the user put that NFT for sale or whether he have put not for sale. Okay, so here we have two versions of the NFTs which is related to the single user. Okay, that's why I have taken this type, and it's going to be async function. Same logic we have to follow, try and catch, and here we're going to display the error message. So we'll say error while fetching listed NFTs. Okay, that's what we have here. Now let's come here. First thing we have to do is we have to get the contract. Okay, we have to get the contract, so we'll say const contract, and here we have the contract. Once we have the contract, we have to simply take this data, and in that we have to define the type. Okay, so if type is equal to, let's say, let's call it fetch items listed. Okay, If this is the type, then we want to call this function contract dot, and let's come here, and here we're going to call this fetch item listed. Okay, simply call this function. Okay, this is the function, or else we want to call this function, so my NFT. So here we have that function, my fetch my NFT. Okay, so that's the NFT. Simple logic. I hope this makes sense. And we'll come down, we're going to take this, let's say items. Same thing we have to do is here we have to resolve the promise. So we'll say await promise dot all. We'll take the data, map over it. It's gonna be async, and it's gonna be, let's say object. We'll define that token, and we define the seller, we define the owner, we'll define the, let's say price, but it will come in the form of big number, so it will say unformatted price. So that's the data we have, and here we're going to construct the token URI. So we'll say, let's say data, and we'll say image, we have the name, we have the description, and here we're going to say await access dot get, and in that we have to pass this token. Okay, I don't have the token URI. Okay, sorry, my bad. I have to create the token URI, which I have not done. So I'll come up here, I'll say token URI, and I'm getting from here contract dot token URI, and then I have to pass the token ID. Okay, and that way I have the token URI, and that I'm passing into the get XCS. Okay, and this will give us the data. Okay, simple logic. And same thing we have to do here. We have to return, before we return that, we have to take this price and we have to convert that into a ether. Okay, utils format unit, and here we're going to convert that price and to ether. Okay, ether, here we have the price. Okay, now we have to return all the data, so we'll say return, and we have to return the price, we have to return the token ID, and we have to convert it into a number. Now we have to take the seller, we have to take the owner, we have to take the image, we have to take the name, we have to take the description and the token URI itself. So this is the bunch of data we are sending. Okay, simply copy this, and now we have to send all the data as a whole. Okay, so let's come here, we have to say return items. Okay, so this will give us the entire data for the my NFT and listed NFT. Simply copy the function and close this one and pass it here. So this is the another function we have done. Okay, I hope so far everything's making clear to all of you guys. If you have still any confusion in any point of these code we have written, just do let me know. Okay, give me the name and explain your query, that what's the problem you have, what's the confusion. I'll try to explain on that, because this is a very crucial part, because here we are interacting with the smart contract and we are using XCS and extracting data, resolving promises to get the data from the contract so we can display on the application. Okay, so that's what we have here. Now let's close all the functions, and now let's what we have left. So this is we done. So let's come here, we have that, and what else we have left? Okay, so this is the function we have to create market sell. Okay, we allow user to buy the NFT. Okay, so this is the function we're going to create. Simply copy that, come here, and we'll say buy NFT. So this function will allow the user to buy NFT. Okay, so it's gonna be an async buy NFT, same logic, async function. It will take the NFT, all the data of the NFT will take, and try and catch. We have to display the error message, so error while buying NFTs. Okay, here first thing we have to do is to get the contract, and we'll say await. We have to come up here, copy this contract function, and we have to call it. Okay, so simply remove this comma. So here we have the contract. We'll come down, we're going to call this, let's say price, and we have the price utils, and we have to convert the price, and this price we have inside this NFT. Okay, we'll call it price, and we have to convert this into ether. Okay, simple logic. Now we'll come down, well, simply call this transaction, and we have to call this function contract buy function. So we'll come up here, and we're going to simply copy this create market sell function, and you can see in that we have to pass this data. Come here, and we're going to pass the, let's say NFT token ID, and we have to pass the price. Okay, we have to pass the price. So in this way the user can purchase the token, sorry, NFT. And once we are done, we have to call this transaction dot wait. We have to wait after once the transaction is written on the blockchain. So that's the buy function. Okay, So simply copy that and we have to call the function here. So that's all the function we have to write for our smart contract, whatever smart contract we have built. So all the function we have written, and with this you are ready to go and launch your launch your NFT marketplace. Okay, so now it's time to connecting with this, okay, and passing all the data. So let's have a look one more time. So we have all this, we have all the functions we have written, and here you can see we have this account, a current account. So we have to simply copy that and we have to pass that as data as well. So we can send it data, so we can receive another component and we can build logic around that. Okay, so that's the account we have. Now that's the data. Now let's close this one, and that's the, okay, fetch, create cell, get NFT, connect wallet, and here we have this. Let's open this, check if wallet is connected, and we need to console log of the account. Okay, so let's come here, let's come down below and we'll say console.log, and we're going to call this current, what is the name, current account, sorry, current account. Okay, so we have to see that whether it's working or not. Let's open the application and make sure you should restart the application, okay, and close all the thing. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to stop this terminal blockchain and we're going to stop this application. Okay, let's come here and we have to delete these folders, artifact and cache, okay, and ABI, okay, because we're going to redeploy the contract. So let's come here, delete the artifact, and we have to delete the cache. Okay, delete this one, and we come back to the context and we're going to delete this ABI, okay, JSON file. Okay, and we're going to redeploy this contract. Okay, let's come here, type node hard hat, npx node hard hat, and let's wait. So just wait. Here we have the local blockchain. Okay, it's running. Now we have to run this, deploy this script, deploy the smart contract. This is the command you have to type, nothing new. Just wait, and it's compiled, and here we have deploy the smart contract, and you get see that we got the same address. No matter how many times you restart the applications or deploy the contract, you'll get the same address. Sometime it get differ, it's depend. Okay, so but that's really happen. Okay, but that's really happen. Okay, so simply copy that and let's come here and let's have a look. Do we have the exact address? So that's the, simply drag and drop here, that's the ABI we have. Go to the constant and you can see we have the exact address of the contract. Okay, don't need to worry about it, exact address. Close this one and we have to clear the terminal and start that application. So type npm run dev and open this in the browser, and here you can see so far everything's looking good. Let's do the inspect element. Come here, go to the console, and here you can see we have these two, but the account addresses are not displaying. Okay, so let's come here, let's click on this MetaMask, and you can see we are connected, but still we have some issue. And here you can see the balance is got detected because the account number 2 we have used to deploy the smart contract. And as you know, whenever you do deploy contract or do any transaction, you have to pay gas fee. So here we have pay a couple of ethers, which is obviously a fake ether. If you have that much ether, you are going to be a millionaire. Okay, so if we log out and simply log in once more and click on this, so things are looking fine, we are connected, we have this ether now, but still we have some problem. If we click here, you can see we are pointing out to this, but the account address is not displaying. So let's come here and let's come back to the code, bring this down, and what I have to do is to fix this one. I don't know why it's happening, but we're gonna find it out. So let's come up here and simply do one thing, remove this one. Okay, and simply copy this function, and we're going to call this function here, pass the function here. We can pass this function here, so we can receive another component, and from there we're going to call it. Okay, so let's call the function here, and let's okay, that's what we have done. Now let's come here, go to the index page. Okay, let's open the pages, go to the index page, and here we're going to receive the function. So let's receive it here, and here we're going to call the function. We'll take this use effect and we're going to simply call the function. Okay, now save it, and if you come back, and here we're going to do the console logout. Okay, let's do the console, log out the current account and save it, and come back here, and here you can see we have the address. So sometime it happens, so you have to figure it out a way to make things work. Okay, so this is how we can easily able to get the account in my console. Okay, so that's working fine. And if we come here and try to copy that address and paste here, you can see the exact address we have. Okay, 226, and this is the data. Okay, so we have the exact address. Now let's come back to the here, come back to the index, and simply do one thing. Let's close all this, and now here we have that. Simply copy this account, so we already have it. Simply delete this one, console. I don't want to unnecessary comment, and now simply send this data, account data. Okay, so simply copy and scroll all the way. Okay, I have already sent the data, so I can work around it. So let's come here and to check that the account we have on using that account. So now we have the data about the account. So whenever a user will connect with this application, we'll get the account, and on the base of that we're going to build the logic. Okay, so let's start with the navigation. Okay, so this is how we'll go. We have all the data, all the function. So first we'll start with the navigation, then hero section, and then we'll move to the other component. Okay, so we'll come back here. Let's close all these open folders and go to this component. Okay, in this component we have this navigation. In that navigation we'll go to the main directory. Okay, main folder. So here we have that navigation, and let's scroll all the way down. Where is the button? Okay, so here we're going to add a dynamic button. So if a user is not connected with the application, we want to display a different button for connecting with the application. But if a user is connected with the application, we want to display a different button for creating NFT. Okay, so here we have the simple button. Now here we're going to build the logic for that. Okay, so for that, what we're going to do, first thing we have to receive the data. Okay, simply close this functions, close this one, and here we have that. So first thing we have to import that data component. Okay, so we'll call it, let's say, import from smart contract. Okay, so first we have to get the context, and here we're going to use this use context, and here we're going to import the file. So what is the name we have called? Let's come here and simply grab this context, marketplace context, and paste here, and that's coming from the NFT marketplace context. Okay, context. Okay, so here we have the context, and now we're going to use this context. So let's scroll down, and here we're going to call it. So we'll give this comment so you guys can know what we are working on. Smart contract, we're going to take that const, and we have to receive that data. Okay, and that's coming from use context, and here we have the context. Okay, simply pass it here. So the data we want to receive is this. Let's come scroll down. We want to receive this current account. Okay, so that's the data we're going to receive here, and simply copy that and come down here in the button section, and here we're going to build the dynamic block. Okay, so we'll say if, not if, we're going to take this parameter. If current account is empty, we don't have any addresses in the current account, then we want to display this button. Okay, so we want to take this button, and we going to pass the name, btn name. So we'll say, let's say button name is going to be connect. Okay, and it will have the handle functions. So the function we want to call this one. Okay, so we can come here, and we have to get this function, connect wallet function. Okay, so we'll allow user to click and connect. So first thing we have to receive the function here, and then we can easily able to use that function. So we'll come down here, and we're going to call the function here. Okay, if user is not connected, we want to display this button, and we'll have this function on that button. Okay, but if the user is connected, okay, if the user is connected, simply copy, cut this one and paste here. Okay, we want to call this function. So this time we'll call create, and here we're going to change that. So simply come here, and here we're going to import the link. Okay, next link tag. Okay, because we want to redirect the user to the upload NFT page. Okay, so let's import the link, align link, and that's coming from next link, and this is what we're going to call here. So let's come up here, and here we're going to call it link, and in that we're going to call this button, and we have to define the path in the link, okay, where we want to redirect. So we'll take this href and we'll take this object, will say path name, it's path name, and here we want to redirect to the home page. Okay, so that's the pretty simple function we have here. Okay, that's the only setup we have to do here, and it would be working fine. Okay, so let's come here, and here we left, close this one, and here you can see it's create, but reload the browser and let's have a look. So we have already connected. You can see it turned to create because we are already connected with this application. Okay, let's come here and let's click on this MetaMask, and let's do one thing, simply log out from the MetaMask and reload the browser. And this time you will find that we'll have different button. We'll have this connect. If we click on this, it will open the MetaMask. Click on this and it will, okay, it's not working. Why? Okay, it's not working. Let's do the inspect element and let's have a look. It says that error while connecting to the wallet, means our function is getting triggered, but we have some problem in the function because we can see the error message. Okay, so it's working fine. We have to come, let's things are looking good, no problem we have here. Now what we can do, we have the problem in the code, so let's come back to the code and go back to the this connect wallet function, and where it is, here we have that. This is the check, and close this one and open this connect wallet. Okay, here is the problem we have. It's account request accounts, I forgot to add s. Okay, s, save it. Now it would be working. Okay, let's come here, cut this and reload the browser, and still we are not connected. You can see, yes, it's still we are not connected. And if we click on this, here we have MetaMask, means our function is working. So just wait, we can open that, we can put the credential, we can type unlock, and here we are connected with the application. We are reloading the browser, and you can see that the button is changed to create. And if we click on this button, we can easily read, not read, we are having some error. Okay, we haven't defined that handle click function on the button, that's why we are getting this. That's not a big deal. So far things are looking good. Now let's come back to the code, go back to this navigation bar, and here we go to define the handle click function on the button. So let's call the function handle click, and for initially we're going to have this empty function. We don't need to pass any function here. You can see the error is gone. If we click on, we can't able to redirect to the upload page. Why it's happening? Okay, we have some problem, not a big deal, we can fix that. Let's come back to the code and do one thing, simply remove this link. Okay, we're going to use it later. Okay, I don't know why we're having this problem, but we're going to see. Okay, simply change that, take normal anchor tag. Okay, remove that, bring this down and paste here, and we're going to call that href, and we have to redirect to the upload NFT. Okay, not home page. Okay, so let's come here, what we have called to that page, go to the pages, and here we have called upload NFTs. Okay, so that's the exact name we have to call here, upload NFTs, NFT capital. Okay, save it, and now it should be working. Simply reload the browser and simply just log in. Okay, log out from this MetaMask, and let's try the final time. Okay, reload the browser, and you can see right now we have this connect. If we click on this, we can easily able to open the MetaMask, and we can easily able to connect with this MetaMask. Let me put the credential, click on unlock, and here we are reloading browser. I don't like this reload, we're gonna fix this. Okay, and we can click on this create, and here you can see it's reloading, and it's coming back to the upload NFT page. You can see here on the URL upload NFT page, and from here we can easily able to upload the NFT. We're going to change this behavior. Okay, it's reloading because we have used that anchor, that's why it's having this reloading. But when we use that link like next year link, we don't have this reload. Okay, we're gonna fix that. Okay, it's looking fine, you can see things are looking good. We can easily able to redirect to this, and we can able to create the we can easily able to create the NFT. Okay, so things are looking good. We are progressing slowly. And let's come back to the home page, and this looks beautiful. Let's come back to the code. So with this we are done. Close this navigation bar, and with this we are done with this entire logic for the NFT marketplace context. All we have to do is to use these functions and call in the component where we wanted to render the data, upload NFTs. Okay, and we already have all the setup, so now we're going to use these functions. Okay, so far everything's looking good. In the next couple of videos we're going to talk about each of these. Okay, EtherJS, IPFS. Okay, because I want you to understand these things, which is very important. So with this I'm ending this video because it's already getting like close to 1 hour 20 minutes. I don't want to extend this video too long because most of you guys have complained me that the videos I'm making, it's getting very long, because these are the important things. We have to spend times on building beautiful applications, better logic, better data model. Okay, so for that you have to give time. If you want to learn things in few minutes, in 5 minutes, or in 10 minutes, that's never gonna happen. Okay, you will watch videos and you will move to the next video. In that way you will learn nothing. You have to give time and focus, and you have to combine both things together. Then you can able to give and learn something new. Okay, so that's the only thing I wanted to cover. Hope whatever we have done so far that makes sense. If you have still any confusion, any doubt, do leave in the comment section. I'll try to solve that problem, and in the next video we can start connecting all the function in the template. So we'll start with the upload NFT. Okay, so that's the first we're going to do in the next video. So by the time, if you are watching this video for the very first time, my name is Daulat. If you're liking my work, hit like and subscribe. That will motivate me a lot to make this kind of project. Okay, so see you in the next video. For the time being, have a wonderful day.